Welcome back to the channel, guys. A surprise Saturday stream where we are looking at the news that Blake Lively has brought the CIA into this case. Not directly, yet an ex-CIA agent, officer, Nick Shapiro, is brought into the equation now. And I want to break it down for you guys because when you start going down this rabbit hole and you start to investigate this is wild. The connections are wild. And I think this is the worst move Blake could have made, whoever made it on her team, because it's not just exposing the fact that now she's into narrative control, but what we're going to see today is that she's bringing to light the connection between Hollywood, media manipulation, and politics. And I don't know if she meant to do that. I don't know if she wanted to do that. Maybe she did, but I think this is a mess. So welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Ashley Brianna Eve, and here we investigate trending pop culture stories, power, and media manipulation. We also bring in my background in marketing and branding to really leverage like what's actually going on behind the scenes here. Welcome, guys. It's so nice to see you guys on this Saturday. I hope you're having a beautiful weekend. Blake can have 1,000 lawyers and still lose if the truth isn't on her side and she doesn't have the receipts. I am hoping that, well, I feel like this is going to get messy before it gets better. And we've already seen since she brought on the new lawyer, I didn't cover that. I was so busy this week with clients. I didn't have a chance to cover that. You can book calls. You can book Human Design Foundation calls, or I have BG5 power sessions as well. BG5 is the human design application for business, but I've been booked with calls this week. So we missed covering the fact that she brought a new lawyer on. But ever since she brought that lawyer on, the bots are wild, guys. Like, I am getting hit with so many bots that have one post, no followers, never posted on platforms before. So it's already ramped up online. And I honestly believe it's just going to get messier before it gets better. This is so scary to me. It looks like Ari has his hands all over it. You guys are already on top of it. You guys are, I know where you're going with this. I know where you're going with this. It's exactly where I'm going with this. Ari Emanuel has his hands all over this. No one can tell me that it's a coincidence that that Freakonomics episode leaked, the audio leaked after everyone said, no, we did the podcast, but the audio, the sound guys just weren't recording it. All of a sudden there's someone new brought onto the team. We're going to see. All right. Our mantra here from here on out, because of this new addition, is trust no headline. Like I said, I believe it's going to get a lot messier. We've seen her team, again, implement what I believe to be a lot of bots in supporting her this week because there's been an uptick on attacks on citizen journalists. And we also saw in the passing of Michelle Trachtenberg that there was media manipulation done and SEO manipulation done on her team and her side as well. So I do believe the headlines are probably going to get a little wild, but, just trust no headline. Trust no headline. Like I said, what I want to talk to you guys about today is not just the stuff you're going to get on every other channel. Every other channel is like this Nick Shapiro guy, and they're reading the Variety article. And yeah, we're going to do that, but we are critical thinkers here and we kind of go a little bit deeper. I'm not here for just the surface level stuff, although I also like the surface level stuff. That's fun. Good morning, Felicia. It's so nice to have you here. We are going a little bit deeper today. And I realized as I started researching this guy since the news broke, that what she did, probably by mistake, is start to expose the Hollywood politics media connection. And this isn't new. It's not as though no one has spoken about this before. There's books on it. I have some books for you guys within this if you wanted to go down that route. I have a trailer for a movie that discusses this that we're going to talk about today. So it's not that this is necessarily new. What I believe the problem is for Blake is that it was kind of like this conspiracy theory before, right? It was like, hush, hush. Is this like, you're crazy if you think this? Like, why would the CIA have control over Hollywood? Why would the CIA have control over movies and television? Like, what are you talking about? And now the greater public was seeing this go down. I believe there's going to be a resurgence in interest in this connection, which isn't going to work in her favor. I don't believe. I personally don't believe her. So, hiring the ultimate liar. Guys, I don't know. Let me know. Have you started to dive into this guy and look into him? This is wild. So, The one thing I thought of when I saw this news break, I was on client calls all day yesterday, so I didn't have even a chance to touch it. But I was looking at it after I closed down for the day, put my laptop away, and I'm scrolling on my phone looking at this. Blake heavily and her team criticized Justin Baldoni for hiring a crisis firm. And then not only did they heavily criticize him, but then they heavily edited text messages and put them in the New York Times article to seem as if there was this astroturfing thing going down. And here she is bringing the CIA into it. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so happy I discovered your channel. I love your takes. You're spot on here. Well, welcome. It's such a good community. You guys chat while I read the slides and stay on track. For these stories, my ADHD requires me to be a little bit more on track, but you guys hang out, you guys chat, you guys discuss in the comments. It is such a cool community here. So welcome everyone that's new. And if you are brand new and you haven't liked and subscribed yet, make sure to like and subscribe because I think we are just getting started on Ari Emanuel, to be honest, and this whole Hollywood expose that I've been doing. So she heavily criticizes Justin Baldoni, and then she brings in someone who has had, Nick Shapiro, his hands in shaping the US and world history through media manipulation and cover-ups. So it's not just a crisis PR firm. She brought in someone that has quite literally been directly involved with cover-ups, media manipulation, election interference. Like this guy is not, I would think, someone you would want on your team when you're trying to rehab your public image. So she hired Nick Shapiro. So he was a former CIA deputy chief of staff, and he's now her PR crisis management person. And for me, what this also opens up is significant concerns about media manipulation and ethical implications of involving intelligence figures in public relations. Guys, wait till you see some of the stuff I uncovered in regards to the CIA and journalism. Like citizen journalists, stand up because you are needed right now. You are needed right now because this is going to get a hot mess. So my concern is by hiring a former CIA official with a background in strategic communications and crisis management. Strategic communications means narrative control, right? It's not as though he's just talking about the story. Like this is narrative control. And that's essentially what he's been brought in for. For me, I feel inadvertently she's raising questions about the authenticity and transparency of her PR efforts. I think because of the age we're in and how the public is already against her, people are going to take this and run with it. There is a lot more. This research I did was literally just between last night after I ended work for the day with clients and this morning, and it is 10:30 a.m. Eastern. So if I had more time to look into this, you bet I would have a lot more dirt. And now everyone is going to be seeing this and share this, by the way, share it with people. And everyone else is going to be doing their own research into it and inevitably find even more. So I think this was a mess. I think she's going to bring up questions about authenticity and transparency. And I feel as though the public is going to be even more pissed because they're going to be like, you are a hypocrite. He hires a crisis management team and now you bring in the CIA. And I know, guys, it's not literally the CIA, but still, when you bring in someone that's attached to politics and the CIA the way this guy is, you brought the CIA into the conversation. And now she's made it political, but they've already made it political in the past as well with some of the comments that have come out of her camp. I don't know why you want to bring politics into this, but they have, and they keep bringing it in. Nick Shapiro looks like Andrew Tate's brother. He kind of does. I was wondering where I thought I saw him before, but I bet that's it. I bet that's it. So I think that overall, this move is going to be perceived by many that already are not on Blake's side as an attempt to control and manipulate the media, which it is. It really is. So let's look what she said. I think it's kind of funny that Variety thought this was some big exclusive. They had it right in the headline, right? Exclusive. What is going on over there? She should have honestly asked to borrow Tree Payne when Taylor was still her friend. Because Tree Payne, I cannot see letting any of this happen. These are not moves at someone of Tree Payne's level. Like, when they were still friends, she should have been like, bestie, I need to borrow Tree Payne because shit's about to go down and I need the kind of narrative control that you're able to put out. All right, this came from Variety. Blake Lively has hired a PR crisis manager with deep government ties as her legal battle with Justin Baldoni escalates. The actress who is suing and being sued by her It Ends With Us director and co-star is quietly working. When you, Blake, girl, releasing shit to the New York Times in articles and releasing shit as exclusive to Variety is not quiet. It's not quiet. Because politics will divide the movement and shift the focus away from Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. That might have been what they were hoping for, but I don't think this is going to do what they think. I don't think this is going to do that. I think it's going to bring people together. Hello, Ruthie. It's so nice to see you. That's as close as I can get with ADHD. I know that feeling. Trust me. I know the feeling of like, I'm almost on time. It's like the best you can get. I get that. I sit here and wait because if I'm not early, I'm definitely going to be very late. The litigation team for Miss Lively retained Mr. Shapiro to advise on the legal communication strategy for the ongoing sexual harassment and retaliation lawsuit occurring in the Southern District of New York. And that is a member of the actress's legal team that said that. So this isn't quiet. Shapiro, who launched a crisis PR firm, 10th Avenue Consulting, in 2015 after his lengthy tenure in the federal government, would seem an unconventional choice for Lively, given the spiraling legal morass that she has found herself in and the obvious political ties. So according to his bio, Shapiro helped, like this is narrative control, right? It's not just helped, it's narrative control. Lead the Obama administration's response to the H1N1 pandemic. I remember that. The Sandy Hook Elementary School, I'm going to leave that word out, the Gulf oil spill, Boston Marathon, amongst others. So essentially what he's done is when there's things like a pandemic, natural disasters, cyber attacks, breaches of data, you would call in Shapiro and he would create a narrative control to spin the narrative, manipulate the media, and manipulate you, is essentially what his job was and what they're saying. They also get ahead of the curve, right? This is the PR equivalent of avoiding a gotcha moment, because the reality is they knew that even if the public didn't look into it, that, well, of course, Justin Baldoni's team would. And as soon as they named Shapiro, Justin Baldoni's team would have come out and been like, WTF, this is who you just hired, and put that out into the public. So they're trying to avoid the gotcha moment. But I think, again, all this really did was stir up curiosity of people, to be honest, because this is what stirred up my curiosity and why I started looking into him. So he is one of a group of 51 former senior intelligence officials. This is her team putting this out in Variety, who signed a widely cited and subsequently criticized. They have to put that in, right? Yeah, it was criticized. 2020 open letter stating that the Hunter Biden laptop has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. So they put that in to avoid the gotcha. They say, yeah, it was criticized. But look at, he does all those things. He speaks on all these other things, right? Though it is standard for celebrities like Lively and Baldoni to work with crisis PR when they are enmeshed in a conflict, the actress's team was highly critical of the director's use of behind-the-scenes professional last summer ahead of the film's opening. At the time, news outlets and social media influencers covered a mysterious feud between Lively and Baldoni that prevented the two from appearing together at joint press events. So again, they're getting ahead of the narrative because, again, they knew what people were going to say. People were going to say exactly what I said when I started this, was all you did was criticize him, and now you've got the CIA involved. So they're just getting ahead of the narrative there. It's not Variety seeing both sides or playing devil's advocate. They're just getting ahead of the narrative there. Now, Shapiro, again, he's not just any PR guy. He was the CIA's deputy chief of staff and senior advisor to former director John Brennan. You're going to see that name come up again. So just put a pin, on what I imagine in your room right now is a large board with strings everywhere. Add John Brennan to your board and put a string on him. We'll connect it later. We're going to see how he's connected to Ari Emanuel. You guys called it. His resume boasts over 15 years in crisis management, national security, and strategic communications, aka narrative control. It's a nice way of saying narrative control, spanning roles in the White House and the private sector. He was with the CIA from what I can find online, March 2013 to May 2015 under Barack Obama's administration. So he's been involved, Shapiro, who is the new guy, the CIA guy with Blake's team, with both Barack Obama and Biden. So he has a lot of political connections, as does Ari Emanuel, through his family, and probably through him as well by this point. After working for the government, Shapiro spent 8 months as the Visa's vice president of global security and communications before moving on to act as the global head of crisis management for Airbnb, which I found was wild. Following a 3-year stint with the rental company, he founded his own 10th Avenue Consulting LLC. Sources close to Lively claim that this is a strategic move to fortify her public image and control the narrative amid her legal entanglement with Baldoni. Well, no shit, we can see that, which is set for trial in 2026. Blake should have someone getting her to step down rather than push harder. This is wild. I wonder what crazy lie Shapiro will come up with to smear justice. It's going to be messy. Trust no headline. Good morning, Rose. It's so nice to see you here. It's going to be messy. Okay, so let's look at his connections politically first. So this is again Shapiro, her new PR guy. Connections to the Obama administration. Shapiro served as the national security spokesperson for President Obama. He was the deputy chief of staff at the CIA during Obama's tenure. In these roles, he played pivotal parts in managing the administration's response to significant events, including, as we heard previously, H1N1, pandemics, the Sandy Hook Elementary School, the Gulf oil spill, etc. Connection to the Biden administration. In October 2020, during the Biden presidential campaign, Shapiro was involved in coordinating a letter signed by 51 former intelligence officials. This letter suggests that reports about Hunter Biden's laptop had the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign. This is, guys, you cannot trust media. You cannot trust legacy media. This guy is, yes, you got it, professional liar. That is exactly what he is, a professional liar to manipulate you, each of you. Blake's teams are the one astroturfing. Yep. This is wild. So I love that you said professional liar. That is literally what he did. And now he is on her team. Now, there is this article from March 1st, 2025. So it's like literally just dropped. Why is a former CIA chief, this is by Jamie Wells, now handling Blake Lively's PR? And I found this really interesting. What this means for Hollywood PR. The hiring of former government operatives for crisis PR isn't entirely new in Hollywood, which doesn't surprise me. And wait till you guys see, like, you have to stick around till the end. You guys have to stick around to the end. This gets wilder. All right. So he says hiring of the former government operatives for crisis PR isn't entirely new in Hollywood. However, Shapiro's involvement signals an escalation in how celebrities combat scandals. Gone are the days of simple spin. Now stars are turning to intelligence professionals trained in high stakes. That's what you want to keep in mind, like high stakes warfare and reputation protection at the level of government. This is someone that's involved in propaganda, manipulation, narrative spins to benefit government level officials. This is wild. Shapiro, and like you saw, not just in politics, right up there in the Obama and Biden administrations. Shapiro's entry into Lively's camp is already sparking conversations in both entertainment and political circles. His past roles involved handling some of the US government's most sensitive counterterrorism operations. The most sensitive counterterrorism operations, yet now he's navigating the battlefield of Hollywood scandal management. With a former CIA deputy chief of staff and a high-powered PR crisis strategist now steering the ship, Blake Lively is gearing up for a long and strategic legal fight. If history is any indicator, Shapiro's tactics will ensure every media headline, public statement, and legal move is orchestrated with military precision. Trust no headline. It is going to get messy. And I feel so bad for Justin because nothing we've seen so far, and I'm willing to be proven wrong if she comes out with a smoking gun, but nothing we've seen so far actually shows that he had astroturfing or a media campaign against her. All I've ever seen is him reacting and defending himself to what's gone down. This is wild. So let's go a little bit more into who Nick Shapiro is, shall we? These are some headlines I was able to pull from 2023 and 2022, although there are many. I wouldn't say a ton, but they're out there. Ex-CIA chief spills on how he got spies to write false Hunter Biden laptop letter to help Biden. Now, the interesting thing here, remember we talked about Brennan? Remember I told you guys to remember the name Brennan? Well, it's coming up again. So this article says over the next 2 days, Morell, so this is Mike Morell, CIA director, he was there to help organize this, gathered signatures from 51 former intelligence officials, including himself and 4 other former CIA directors, including John Brennan and Leon Panetta. John Brennan, we've already heard that name come up. Morell testified that he sent an email telling, I'm losing my voice, guys. All I've done has been on calls this week. Words are going to be hard today. We might lose my voice as we go, but we're going to keep doing this. I was like, I am doing this. I am coming on and getting this out today. Morell testified that he sent an email telling Nick Shapiro, a former deputy chief of staff to Brennan, that the Biden campaign wanted the statement to go to a particular reporter at the Washington Post, and that he should send the statement to the campaign as well. Morell did not recall why he told Shapiro the campaign wanted the statement to go to that reporter. I don't know, amnesia all of a sudden. First, but he admitted that he may have spoken to the campaign on another occasion. It's like selective amnesia. I don't know. I can't exactly remember why that reporter. I don't know. We might be able to answer that shortly with some stuff I found. Maybe, maybe not. But that is just wild to me. So Shapiro was the one with his connections to reporters. Ding, ding, ding. Connections to reporters that got this out to the Washington Post first through this one reporter that I can't find the name of. Yeah. This is who Blake hired. It's been 2 years since, is another headline, 2 years since 51 intelligence agents interfered with an election. They still won't apologize. This is 2022. Exactly 2 years ago, on October 19th, 2020, one of the dirtiest tricks in electoral history was played out on the American people by 51 former intelligence officials who used the false alarm of Russian interference to stop Donald Trump winning a second term as president. Let's leave feelings of Donald Trump out of this. I don't want to see everyone freaking out over that piece. I'm just reading this. The point is, we shouldn't have election interference like this, regardless, no matter what country we're in. And lying that it's Russian interference. Using the institutional weight of their former esteemed roles, they signed a dishonest letter to mislead voters 15 days before the election, claiming that material from Hunter Biden's laptop, published by the New York Post, has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. This is what I also found interesting. If we go to Google, I did this morning. You can see right here. I put in Nick Shapiro media manipulation to try and find more stuff. Look at the first article that comes up. If you put in Nick Shapiro media manipulation, the first article that comes up is Justin Baldoni countersuit against Blake Lively will shock everyone. And then you get one about ChatGPT, vulnerable to manipulation and deception test show. That doesn't surprise me. Another one responding to Walt's pick. And then the next one is Deadline as well, which is interesting. So you type in Nick Shapiro media manipulation and Deadline articles come up that have nothing to do with Nick Shapiro, but are putting forward Blake Lively. I don't have anything other than that to tell you guys. Like I said, this was after client calls last night until like 10 o'clock this morning. I haven't had a chance to dig into that. It's just interesting at this point. Caitlin Olsen supports Blake Lively amid Justin Baldoni complaint. Kind, lovely, honest. So it pulls up 2 articles from December 28th, 2024, which I just think is really interesting. Sorry, guys, if I'm missing comments. All right, connection to Obama. Like, it keeps going. I don't know what they were thinking. I honestly think Ari Emanuel is behind this hire. If you want my honest opinion, I think Ari Emanuel is behind this hire. I would have empathy for her if she is on the spectrum instead of being narcissists. Of course, we won't know that. You know, if she came out and there was some sort of mental health crisis or something, I don't know. It doesn't mean you ruin someone's life, but I could definitely see that empathy for someone, right? If she was going through a lot. I worked in the mental health field. But at this point, it just seems like calculated astroturfing, narcissism, takedowns of people that you don't like. And it's also Ari Emanuel's playbook. We talked about this previously about Ari Emanuel, right? If he doesn't like someone, he takes you out. Look at what happened to Wesley Snipes. But if he likes you, he protects you. Look what happened to the agent that SA'd Terry Crews. He was protected until Terry came public with it. We've also talked about how it was interesting that people left his agency in the beginning and all of a sudden there were scandals around them, or all of a sudden they left Hollywood. So there's just a lot around Ari Emanuel where if you're an opponent to him, you get taken out, usually by scandal. All right, so Ari Emanuel comes from a family deeply entrenched in politics. His brother, Rahm Emanuel, served as White House chief of staff under President Obama and later as a mayor of Chicago. Although I think there were different sources saying the timeline, but there's also the mayor of Chicago piece in that. But I did see a couple sources with different timelines there. Another brother, Ezekiel Emanuel, advised on healthcare matters during the Obama administration. So there's a lot of political ties when you're looking at this family. A lot of political ties. Obama's connection to these people changed my perspective massively about him. Yeah, and I'm not American or into politics. Oh, I think I forgot the timeline there. So timeline, he was White House chief of staff from 2009 to 2010 under President Barack Obama, and served as, from what I can find, the mayor of Chicago from 2011 to 2019. Now, what I found interesting is Ari Emanuel's brother also isn't without controversy. Go figure, in terms of media manipulation and narrative control and deception. Now, this is one article I found. I just found this quote here interesting. Emanuel was Barack Obama's chief of staff in the first 2 years of Obama's first term. This was when Obama passed the stimulus bill, the Affordable Care Act, and Dodd-Frank financial reforms. I don't know what those are. I'm not American, but I just wanted to read this article. Archived clip of Barack Obama. It's fair to say that we could not have accomplished what we've accomplished without Rahm's leadership. Archived chip. Oh my gosh, guys. I need a day off. I need a day off is what I need. But Blake just can't take a seat and let me have a weekend off. I cannot even talk anymore. Can't even read anymore. Archived clip of Rahm Emanuel. You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. I didn't listen to the whole thing, so I don't know the whole conversation around that, but I found it very interesting that a crisis gives you an opportunity to do things that you wouldn't do before. So he is the former, again, mayor of Chicago, chief of staff. There's a couple controversies that came up with him when I look into him. Laquan McDonald shooting cover-up. In 2014, Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke fatally shot 17-year-old Laquan McDonald. Emanuel's administration delayed releasing the dash cam footage for over a year, leading to allegations of a cover-up to secure his re-election. This incident severely damaged public trust and sparked widespread protests and transparency issues. Emanuel faced criticism. So this isn't Ari, it's Rahm, his brother. Faced criticism for conducting official business through personal emails, circumventing public record laws. His administration's lack of transparency led to legal challenges and further eroded public confidence. It's wild. It is wild. Now, if we look at the CIA's history of media manipulation, the CIA has documented history of manipulating media narratives. We're also going to talk about how the CIA got involved with Hollywood. It's wild. We're just getting started. And like I said, if I had more time to deep dive, I imagine we would have found a lot more. But this is just, I'm sure I'll keep going. This is just getting the story started. So Operation Mockingbird, I do believe someone sent me a note on social media that Candace had mentioned this as well, but I think she called it Mocking Bloom or something. I like sass. I'm here for the sass. So Operation Mockingbird, this alleged large-scale program attempted to manipulate domestic American news media organizations for propaganda purposes. According to author Deborah Davis, Operation Mockingbird recruited leading American journalists into a propaganda network and influenced the operations of front groups. So this is, again, the history that Blake has now brought into the chat. Someone that has been involved in an agency, high up in an agency and politics for media manipulation and narrative control. I honestly do believe, as you guys were saying at the beginning, that potentially politics was brought in initially to divide and kind of like divide and conquer, right? Like start to create a rift in the citizen journalists and those supporting Justin or Blake. But I think this is going to blow up in their face. If that was an actual intention, I think this is going to blow up in their face, because if there's anything people around the world can come together on, whether it is you're an American, Canadian, doesn't matter, anywhere. I feel like we are all especially impacted by American politics, let's be honest, is that this kind of shit isn't okay. And I feel we can all agree on that. So again, I think in the attempt to bring politics into divide, it's going to bring people together. Media influence as well. The CIA has been known to generate favorable, including outright bogus news stories in foreign media outlets, with the expectation that American outlets would eventually pick them up. This tactic was used to influence public opinion and policy decisions. So there's this book, Operation Mockingbird. I haven't purchased, there's two books I found. I haven't purchased them, although I plan on it. Operation Mockingbird is a controversial history of the CIA's efforts to manipulate American media outlets. And again, we want to keep in mind that Nick Shapiro was at the forefront of this. Hollywood's supposed to make the CIA not look evil. Hollywood is a CIA, FBI propaganda machine. You got it. We're going to, oh, don't you worry. We are getting into it. I found a movie on it I didn't even know existed. We're going there. All right. So I found this on intelligence.senate.gov, and it was a hearing. It's like 55 pages or something. So I just have the key takeaways for you guys. A hearing on the use of journalists by the CIA and essentially media manipulation. The hearing exposed the CIA's historical use of journalists, clergy, and Peace Corps members as intelligence operatives. This practice blurred the lines between unbiased reporting and government influence. And lawmakers debate in this. They go back and forth. You guys can pull it up as well. Go back and forth on whether the CIA should be banned from using journalists for intelligence work due to ethical concerns and public trust issues. It's so wild. So the main takeaway that I was finding in this is the government is admitted to using media figures for intelligence purposes, raising major concerns about narrative control and media manipulation. There's also this book, The CIA in Hollywood, which I found really interesting. I'm going to purchase it. I haven't yet. It's How the Agency Shapes Film and Television by Tricia Jenkins. Now, this book focuses a little bit more on how the CIA has infiltrated Hollywood. It is wild. What movie? You guys stick with me. I'm going to show you the trailer. Stick with me, guys. Patience, my friends. I got you. A wide range of CIA operations were examined in a series of congressional investigations from 1975 to 1976, including CIA ties with journalists. Again, trust no headline. And Blake Lively's new ride or die, Nick Shapiro, was at the forefront of all this during his time. This is exactly what he was doing during his time. We saw him with the Hunter Biden Russian interference thing, bring the article, bring all of that to a journalist he knew for media manipulation. So, I mean, it's not new, but he was at the forefront of it during his time there. So, this is the most extensive discussion of CIA relations with news media from these investigations. And there was a church committee's final report published in April 1976. So, the report covered CIA ties with both foreign and domestic news media. So, again, we just saw that in the last review, right? Where the CIA would plant stories in foreign countries in the hopes that I'm sure journalists that are on their payroll, the hopes that journalists on domestic land would then pick up those stories in foreign land and bring it back to the American people and be like, see, this is what they're saying in that country about you. This is what's going on in that country. And it's just mind control. It's mind control. It's wild. The foreign news media, the report concluded that the CIA currently maintains a network of several hundred foreign individuals around the world who provide intelligence for the CIA and at times attempt to influence opinion through the use of covert propaganda. These individuals provide the CIA with direct access to a large number of newspapers and periodicals, scores of press services and news agencies, radio and television stations, commercial book publishers, and other foreign media outlets. AstroTurfing brought to you by the CIA. Pretty much. That's exact. Yeah. Maybe that's where Blakey learned that word. So the CIA in Hollywood by Tricia Jenkins she's an assistant professor in the film, television, and digital media department at Texas Christian University. And it does like a presentation essentially of how the CIA, sorry guys, it's been a long week, has actively sought to collaborate with Hollywood to develop certain programs since the mid-1990s. To develop certain programs. So overall, between these two pieces and what I was looking at, there's three big ways that the CIA has used media to control narratives. And again, remember, this was Nick Shapiro's job. And this is who Blake brought front and center into this legal case. So I would just be very cautious of what the headlines are you see coming out. I think it's going to get really dirty. The good news is we are all going into this invested in uncovering the truth. This year will be amazing, I feel. I think this is going to be the year of citizen journalists and people. I honestly believe this move by Blake is just going to anger people and make people more aware and have more self-awareness over what they're taking in, what they're believing, and what they're even spending their time and money on. This is going to blow up in her face. The three big ways the CIA has used media to control narratives. So one, planting stories. The CIA has placed false or misleading stories in the media to shape public perception. So example, Operation Mockingbird, where major journalists were recruited to push US government agendas. This is so wild. Two, recruiting journalists as informants. The CIA used trusted journalists to gather intelligence and control news cycles. This created a conflict of interest between truth and government messaging. And three, suppressing and spinning information. Some journalists were used to bury damaging information or push certain narratives. So remember what we talked about with SEO manipulation and how Blake has done that? This is that here. So bury damaging information. One way you can do that is just by flooding the search engines with positive stories, which pushes down the negative. This created distrust in the media and questions about how much government influence still exists today. Does anyone actually still question that? Like, for real, does anyone actually still question that? Thank you for your wonderful work on this case. You're welcome. You're welcome. Hi, Giddy. It's so nice to see you. This might be the year the government have actual thought police like in 1984, potentially. Yeah, I think there's going to be a big pushback on citizen journalists and all of it. Like I said, we're seeing an immense amount of bots coming out in the last week for Blake and Ryan. So the takeaway here is if the CIA has used the media to manipulate narratives before, what's stopping modern PR teams such as Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds with intelligence ties from doing the same? What I mean by that, and what we want to keep in mind, is it's not just Blake and Ryan with an ex-CIA guy. He has intelligence ties. They have political ties. You don't just leave. And Blake's also referred to herself as the mafia in her text messages. Her and Ryan were like the mafia to Justin Baldoni, if you look through the text messages. So it's just really, now she has someone which has intelligence ties. This is wild. So this is really my belief that hiring an ex-CIA intelligence operative for PR could be seen as trying to control the media instead of just telling the truth. I feel like if she actually had things that implicated Justin and what she's claiming he did, we would be seeing them. She wouldn't need to hire a CIA guy. Blake is the definition of karma when you hurt too many people and it's coming back to hunt her now. I believe in karma. I'm definitely a believer in karma. So Blake criticized, again, we talked about this, Justin Baldoni for hiring a crisis PR team. Now she's bringing someone in that has a history of manipulating not just the American people, but the world. Because again, remember, it wasn't just manipulating the American people. That impacted the world when it started to look like there was Russian interference in an election. And it turned out it was the CIA manipulating and creating that story. That creates massive implications across the entire world when you start having the world turning on Russia and all of it was over a laptop and to cover it up for Hunter Biden. That is wild. Takeaway, I feel, is if public perception shifts, this could backfire hard for her, and it's going to make her look even more inauthentic, calculated, and manipulative rather than the victim. All right, here's a movie trailer I promised you guys. I was like, be patient. I got you guys. I gotcha. Theaters of War. I found this morning. I did not know this existed. Again, this is the problem Blake's going to have, is now people are going to get curious about stuff and they're going to start. Yes, thank you, Leo. Like the stream. You guys are amazing. You guys always look out for me. Like the stream. Make sure to subscribe. This won't be the last one on this. And if you enjoy it, please share with someone as well. Theaters of War. These are some quotes from it. Now, it's a documentary about the U.S. military's editorial control over thousands of Hollywood films and television programs. And I'm going to play the trailer for you guys. I'll have to stop it a lot because they have music in the background, and I'm just being so conscious because I keep getting in trouble for not stopping enough. And then I have to go back in and cut pieces out. So for the sake of keeping this in, we're just going to stop a lot. But these are some of the reviews of it. Like a bloodhound on the trail, Theaters of War tracks toward one riveting revelation after another, managing to shock even as it confirms what we imagined we knew about the role and reach of military propaganda. Another one is, this powerful documentary hits us with overwhelming evidence that every film made with DoD or CIA cooperation is a picture made with major input from that agency, including pervasive censorship and rewriting. It forced me to wonder, how many hours of my lifetime have I spent staring at movie screens and TV screens, unknowingly absorbing DoD and CIA propaganda? Is this part of a military-industrial entertainment complex? And the final one that I pulled up is an impressively documented examination of the U.S. security state's role in promoting militarism via popular media. Think propaganda is the wrong word. Think again. And it's funny because my husband and I were just recently talking about this, and we were watching, I can't remember what show it was, but just another kind of military type show. It might have been Lioness by Taylor Sheridan. And I said, have you ever noticed that the enemy is always the exact same countries, nationalities? Like it's always the same. It's a certain narrative that every single military show follows. It's the exact same narrative. And what it made me realize now when I see this, the Theaters of War, it's not just because people are lacking creativity or self-awareness or any of that. It's because to use certain aspects of the CIA or information or even their like planes and stuff in your movie, they control the script. They control it. So we're going to watch the trailer now.
So say you're a producer and you want to make a war film.
You would walk into the entertainment liaison office in downtown.
Oh shit, sorry guys.
So say you're a producer and you want to make a war film.
That was my bad.
You would walk into the entertainment liaison office in downtown Los Angeles.
You say, I want to film an Air Force base, or I want an aircraft carrier, or I want some Black Hawk helicopters, or whatever it is.
And they would tell you straight away, give us your entire script.
Okay, so we're going to pause there. Let me know if you guys can hear it okay in the chat. So right away, what we're seeing, I hope it doesn't keep starting over because we might have to not give commentary and just pause. But right away, what we're seeing is if you want to use anything with the CIA, you have to give them the script. So we're seeing right away script control. It might start over. I don't know why this one sounds good. Perfect. If it starts over, I will just pause it and I always like seeing the comments from you guys, but I'm just gonna have to avoid it if it starts over.
So say you're
entertainment liaison office in downtown Los Angeles.
You say, I want to film an Air Force base, or I want an aircraft carrier, or I want some Black Hawk helicopters, or whatever it is.
And they would tell you straight away, give us your entire script.
And we've worked with Mr. Bay here since Armageddon, if I'm not mistaken, and hope to do more of the same. I've got a direct line to the Pentagon.
Some people probably would say, well, yeah, I've heard of this, like Top Gun, maybe Black Hawk Down, maybe some of the Marvel series.
But what they don't know is how systematic this has been and how huge this operation has been.
So the thing that I really think we need to take away there, guys, and sorry, I'm not going to be able to see comments because for whatever reason, this one starts over if I click away, is that subconscious influence, right? We spend all this time absorbing television and movies. And at the end of the day, what you're really absorbing is the narrative that the CIA wants you to absorb. And that does infiltrate your subconscious mind and start to create perceptions on other countries, other people, etc.
You can call it censorship. You can call it propaganda. It's all of these things.
Now these freedom of information requests that have been successful allow us to actually look at that list, and it's stunning.
What we've found is that thousands upon thousands upon thousands of products have been affected and are often rewritten at script.
So look, there's a rewrite at the top here. I wanted to pause here. No shooting down plane, killing crew unless in self-defense, I think it says. So the CIA had crossed out the script and then made a note there on what they were allowed to do.
By the national security state in the United States. Do normal people know about that? No, of course they don't.
And guys, this is, again, I'm just going to pause because of the music. Every military script, it challenges you to go back and think about everything you've been taking in. So that's the trailer. Wow, this is exactly what I just said. Thank you, Ash, for coming with receipts. Yeah, actually taking notes. So good. Yeah, this is wild, guys. I don't even know what to say about that. What I will say is you guys know from being, if you're new here, you might not know, but I specialize in human design as well. And in human design, we would call it conditioning. So it's that idea of like we absorb information in and we kind of make it our own stories, but that's a psychological phenomena. My background's also in psychology. That's also how super big brands, I'm going to say it, people get mad, but Taylor Swift, she so effectively uses psychology in her marketing and her branding. It just makes you take pause and wonder, like, what thoughts, this is what I say to my clients all the time when I work on them or work with them on their thoughts and their identities and their beliefs is, are those even yours? Those ideas you have, those concepts you have, the beliefs about yourself, about others, about the world, about anything, are those even yours? And sometimes that's the first question that opens up the can of worms that we realize those aren't actually my beliefs. And then what I usually say to my client next, depending on if they're still stuck, is, well, where'd you pick that up? And then it just starts to open that curiosity around, oh, it was from my parents or my culture or movies or media. And you start to unwind the tangled rat's nest, and you realize that so much of what you believe about yourself and others in the world actually isn't your beliefs. It's what you picked up. Social engineering. Yep. It's wild. So with connecting the dots, just to wrap this up for you guys, I'm probably going to keep going through this and looking deeper into it, much to, I'm sure, Blake's dismay. I don't know if she watches my channel, but hey, Blake, if you do, this was a bad move. And so what I'm looking at here and what really piqued my interest is the kind of the convergence of Rahm Emanuel and his kind of controversial political maneuvers, but also his connection with Obama, Ari Emanuel's media dominance. And we already know that he's had a history of, if he doesn't like someone, all of a sudden they're problematic, they go away. Nick Shapiro's connection to Obama and Biden, and also being the one that reached out to a journalist that kind of created that first domino for the Russian interference, using air quotes for those that are listening on audio, Russian interference, which ultimately turned out to be the Hunter Biden laptop. Like, it's just wild when you start to break it down. And for me, that one brings up questions on media neutrality, which I think we've all been asking anyway. I don't think that's like a surprise, but it brings up questions on media neutrality. We have to keep in mind, Nick Shapiro from Blake's team now still has those intelligence connections, still has those media connections. He was the one that was told to reach out to that journalist because he had the connections with the media and they wanted it pushed in a certain way on a certain platform. That was Nick Shapiro. So he still has all of those connections. And what I really believe is, one, that's going to bring it to the forefront. But my hope as well is this starts to bring up questions around the ethics of narrative control and the extent of influence on the media that these kinds of people have, which is now in Blake's camp. And then when we really break it down at the end of the day, like I said at the beginning, what this does is bring up connections and highlights the connection between Hollywood, media manipulation, and politics. So I just found that really interesting, guys. That's all I have for you today. I know we usually talk a lot longer. That's all I have for you guys today. But this is just absolutely wild. You haven't discussed Wesley's race. I have lots of videos. I have multiple videos up on Wesley and the racism that he faced. I absolutely have. Yeah. So how are you guys feeling? How are you guys feeling after this? No, I haven't addressed the State Farm campaigns regarding Taylor and Travis. I have not done that. Guys, please keep in mind, so I do this in my free time. So I work full-time with clients all week. So I do this in my free time. I fit in, what really interests me at the end of the day and cover as much as I can. But at the end of the day, I can't really keep up with those that do this full-time. Maybe one day I can, but I can't do it right now. So I have to be a little bit more selective. For example, I was on client calls yesterday from basically the moment I woke up until I think my last one ended about 6 p.m. So, and that was back to back. So it was a brand VIP day. So I had enough time for lunch, but that was it. The reality is you're not going to be able to get on this channel the same consistent, like up to date with literally everything. Because I just don't have the capacity. And we have a farm animal sanctuary. I have a farm and medically needy dog. My dog, Julia, has megaesophagus. So yeah, unfortunately, you're not going to get that same rapid fire that you can get at other channels. But I hope that what you do get here is maybe a little bit of a deeper dive into things that other channels aren't doing. Thanks, guys. You're doing amazing investigative work. Thank you. That means a lot. Oh, it's my pleasure, Kitty. It's so nice to see you on the live today. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces. You're welcome. You're welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being here, my friends. It's at the end of the day, I love hanging out with you guys. I love hanging out with you guys. The CIA hire is to cover up Taylor Swift's texts. Maybe, potentially. It's wild. It's to cover up for everything at the end of the day. there's a lot here. There's a lot of threads to follow with this. And my hope overall is that the public essentially starts to wake up to it, right? Just starts to wake up to it. You're also covering deeper into the timeline than others. That makes me happy. I'm glad. I'm happy. That's kind of my goal. So I see what other people are doing and I respect them so much for what they're doing. And those that have the capacity to find like every nook and cranny and be on, yesterday it was killing me. I was talking to someone in my ex DMs and I'm like, I can't stay on top of this because I'm literally on client calls all day. And so I always feel like I'm behind. But we got to do something a little bit different here. Let's get some predictions from the chat. Will Blake win? I hope that the public is awake enough now to what's going on. I hope so. And I just feel like if she had the smoking gun, that we would have seen it by now. If anything, Nick Shapiro is just an opportunist that saw Blake as free money, even though she loses, which she highly likely will. I think I can't see. I feel like we would know. I honestly feel if she had the smoking gun, why would you have to hire him? Because you would have the smoking gun. You would have the text messages to Taylor, for example, being like, this guy is a disgusting creep. And this is what happened on the set today. You would have, something. I just can't imagine that she didn't text a friend about it. I mean, you see some texts, I guess, to like, was it Jenny Slate? It was assumed that she texted. I just feel like there'd be something more. There'd be some kind of smoking gun. It's just tough for me to believe that she's going to win this. I don't know why you have to hire the CIA guy. If there is a smoking gun, I just don't honestly get it. So what I'm hearing is Blake's team is going to work even harder to gaslight us. Yeah, you got it, Christine. All right, my friends, that's what I have for you guys. I am so tired. I'm so tired. It was such a busy week. So I'm going to go relax on the farm, hang out with the animals, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.